Hari Om. Hari Om. Hello, my friends. What we are sending out has the tendency to come back. That's basically the whole rule of karma. It's a law of manifestation. We send out negativity, sooner or later it comes back. We send out love, we send out positive thoughts, empathy, that also comes back. Karma is a subject that has traditional theories. Sometimes they contradict each other a bit. And it's a bit like as if it is written in stone. I mean, in the Hindu tradition, basically they talk about the Sanchita karma, a big store of karma that we have accumulated over lifetimes that is there. And out of that, a little portion is being pulled out for an incarnation called the prarabdha karma, the destiny. But then there is supposedly still that big store of karma. And if one believes that, it seems it seems rather hopeless that we ever can neutralize that. We are not coming as a compulsion in this world. That being that you are is projecting an aspect of itself in this time space for a certain purpose, for certain experiences, for certain lessons to be learned, but not as a compulsion because we have a big store of karma that we have to somehow work out. Nevertheless, in manifestation, that law is there. If somebody is always in a negative mood, always has negative ideas about people, invariably it comes back. It can come back immediately, it can take a long time. But if we are generally in a negative mood, then we invariably creating troubles for ourselves. So it's not simply because we should be good people, because that's what it is to be spiritual, a good person. It's not only for reasons like that that it's worth the trouble to have a good look at oneself, see what's going on, see where we are creating destructive energies. What we are sending out will come back. We don't have to be afraid of it, but it's also good to know every thought, every emotion is riding on a wave of energy. And that energy is radiating into the manifestation. Karma is not a terrible law that we are slaves of it and have to go on for life after life after life until maybe after long, long period we somehow manage to neutralize all that. Even if you think of it, of the traditional concept of the big store of Sanchita karma that is there, if people go unconsciously through their life, they're creating again more. Then they neutralize some and creating again more, and then that store will never, never end. But we are not condemned like this. A being may decide to go into this world, manifest, play a role in difficult situations, knowing that these are the circumstances that may help us the most to grow, to unfold, to learn certain lessons. It's not a punishment. We are doing that on purpose. Once we are here, and once that separate personality develops, then we have forgotten and we just define ourselves by what is happening, the role that we are playing. That's not what we are. This is just a momentary projection of what we really are. You, as a being, don't have any karma. The rule of karma, of cause and effect, is only valid within time and space. But you are prior to time and space. Every time you bring your attention back to the present and really detach from the manifestation, you're stepping out of karma. Here, now, there is no karma. But as soon as we are connecting with the time-space continuum, there are the laws of cause and effect. Inescapable. Even if we have caused negative currents, we can neutralize them by being conscious. We don't have to wait until destiny comes and hits us on our head. Every time you bring the attention back home, you are stepping out of karma. Here, now, there is no karma. There is no cause and effect. There is just that intensity of existence. But as a person, one is well advised to have a bit a good look at oneself and see what we are doing. Somebody who goes through the life feeling always a victim of the circumstances, a victim how I have been brought up, a victim of what is happening to me, a victim of the society, then that radiates something very negative that makes the story worse and worse. It will come back in an unpleasant way. It's worth the trouble to let go of all that, even in the moment of the experience. Somebody who is getting into negativity, into anger, into hatred, or self-pity, then it's like the experience is becoming small. Consciousness is compressed, and that hurts. Consciousness naturally is expansive. If we let it happen by itself. effortlessly. If we don't stand in the way, consciousness is expansive. But whenever we are in negativity, in anger, in hatred, in self-pity, then we are compressing consciousness, we are compressing the experience, and that is painful. It's unnatural, and what is unnatural is painful. Whatever we are radiating comes back. It's simply effect on the material level. If somebody goes unconsciously through the life and is being pulled into negativity all the time, then there is invariably more of that stuff coming back, making the life even more difficult. If we learn to bring the attention back home, there comes a joyousness of existence that makes it much easier not to turn negative, that we can let go the old habits, that we can be in a mood of joyousness, again like a child, of joyous curiosity. And that also radiates into the manifestation, which favors very much that we are encountering circumstances that are helpful, that are supportive. It's not that we have to be good people in order to, after that, go to heaven. It's not that we have to be good people because otherwise God is going to judge us. It's an automatic law. What we are radiating is coming back. And if we don't want to create more troubles in our life, we are well advised to give a bit attention to what's going on through our mind, what's going on emotionally. And if we become aware that we have the habit to always slip into negative emotions, that we really sincerely work on it. Learn not to do that anymore. It's also an obstacle to really connect. If there is lightness, if there is love, it's like the, the layers become less dense, and it's easier to cut through it with the attention and come back home. If you are in a crunchy mood all the time, it's very difficult to cut through, to come back to the source. On top of that, we are setting things in motion that makes it more difficult in the future. It's worth the trouble. Have a good, honest look at oneself. See what's really is going on, and then gradually, step by step, let go of all that creates obstacles to be in our own natural, joyous condition. The more you live naturally as you are, the more something beautiful is radiating into the manifestation, which is a great service for the total, for the collective of the manifestation. And also as a manifestation, as an individual, you set currents in motion that have the tendency to make the circumstances more agreeable. It's not a guarantee that once you are not more sending out negativity, that after that everything is simply coming on pink clouds. Still, some difficult situations will come. But if we are basically used not to be pushed around by the circumstances so easily, but to become stronger in our capacity to be rooted in that base, in that pure beingness, in that pure consciousness, in that pure energy, in that pure love. The more we are capable of doing so, the less these difficult circumstances will affect us. And we are not going to create again new negativity that creates again new negativity in manifestation. People tell me, but the real is beyond good and bad. Yes, it is. But what we call good is not the moral thing. What we call good is that which helps us to remove the obstacles to be natural. What we call bad, what we call negative, is that which creates more obstacles, creates more of that sense of separation. That sense of separation is causing the pain, is causing the suffering. That sense of separation is causing so many problems. Then in turn, if we are not alert, we are reacting negatively about it and sending again new negativity into the manifestation, which somehow will have an echo and translate into difficult situations, more difficult situations. There is, of course, also something like a karma for the whole of humanity, and we are in the midst of it. And in a period where it's difficult, then everybody will face more or less difficult situations. But still, how we are dealing with them makes a lot of a difference, how the destiny is influenced, how within the difficult situation for humanity one can still basically live at ease, at peace. It's worth the trouble to wake ourselves up again and again. Be attentive, see what's going on, be honest about it. Let's not try to justify because I had all the reasons to feel like this, I had all the reasons to talk like this, I had all the reasons to think like this, I had all the reasons to do that. Justifying something of which we deep down know it's just creating negativity, it's destructive, it's not helping ourselves, it's not helping anyone. Forget about wanting at all cost justice on this material level, that people acknowledge what good things we have done. What matters is that we stop preventing ourselves from connecting consciously and learn to relax into that beingness, learn to let go, learn to let go all the attachments. That's also one of the traditional terms, detach, detach, detach. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean you have to now to throw away all your possessions and live as an ascetics. Detachment means that capacity to face the circumstances without getting into tensions all the time. Detachment means that no matter what is happening, we learn to be centered. We touch consciously that timelessness of the now and let go. And if we look at this detachment from that perspective, it stops being a moral dictum. It stops being uh, something moralistic that we have to somehow follow, otherwise we are getting punished. We are punishing ourselves all the time by not detaching, by not letting go, by holding on to things, by getting all tense about what is happening instead of accepting the situation, not in weakness, but in strength, and relax instead of getting all tense. The more we can live in that relaxed equanimity, the more something beautiful is radiating also into the manifestation, which helps us that even in difficult situations, we somehow can deal with the circumstances without great problems. Detachment, learning not to get all tense and then reacting with negativity is not a moral issue. It's simply learning to deplay our inherent possibilities, our energy in a constructive, in a harmonious, in a nourishing way. The more you are rooted into that ground, the less one has to think about these kind of things. But as long as we are basically identifying with the role that we are playing, as long as we think that I am a person separate from the whole rest of humanity, it's worth the trouble to be very vigilant what we are sending out. If we justify ourselves for being negative in the present, then we are just again creating the probability of more negative circumstances that we after that we feel even more justified to be negative about it. If we learn to accept the circumstances, if we learn to accept that people sometimes are nice and sometimes are not nice, if we don't resist, then we can learn to be in that state, at ease, at peace, no matter what is happening. And then we are radiating something beautiful. That is, for this particular story, already laying the seeds to make circumstances easier. But at the same time, it does much more than that. It's connecting with the collective consciousness and brings in something very constructive and beautiful. You're doing humanity the greatest service by learning to be at ease, at peace, by learning to be yourself naturally, by learning to be strongly rooted into this pure consciousness, energy, love. And then experience and act from this perspective. It's worth the trouble. When we look at our thoughts, our mind, then sometimes we may get a bit shaken up, seeing what's really going on, seeing that there is much more stuff happening that we just pushed aside because we didn't want to look at. But we need not be afraid if that is happening. If we get a bit shocked what we are seeing, if we get a bit shocked becoming aware what kind of emotions we are capable of holding on to, once we see it, the first step is done, that we can get rid of it, that we can let it go. As long as it's totally unconscious, it's very difficult to detach. We have to be aware what's going on. So it's worth the trouble to remind ourselves, be vigilant, be here, be now, not with tension. We can go about it playfully, but sincerely go about it. Sincerely remind ourselves, here, now. Whenever I'm becoming aware how much I have strayed, how much I have been just totally in my mind, wandering off somewhere in time, in space, or just in the mental space, but not really being aware of being aware, not really being alive now. And because the habit is so strong, it seems to be very difficult not to do so. But if we sincerely go about it, we become aware, it's getting easier and easier as the time is passing. This is the greatest service we can do to ourselves and to everybody else. To sincerely let go of everything that creates pain and tension unnecessarily. To become aware that there is something there all the time, no matter what is happening, there is that peaceful joyousness that is not affected by it. If you are rooted in that, then automatically we also radiating something that brings definitely about much easier circumstances than if we are in tension, if we hold on to anger, if we hold on to hatred, if we carrying grudges with us, and or if we always feel a poor, poor me, little victim. And then even in a period like this, where everything seems to fall apart and everything goes crazy and there is such pain and suffering and violence going on, even in a period like this, it's possible to be rooted in our natural state, in a peaceful joyousness, until with the circumstances, with detachment, joyously from moment to moment. Okay, my friends, now I have been talking alone, giving you time to put your questions together if there is something there. If anybody would like to come in and say something, you're welcome to do so.
Hi,
Hello, Leela.
I start as usual.
As usual, courageously.
Yeah, I came in the middle.
Yeah,
I joined in the middle. Okay, and all the time I thought I wanted to say to you, yes, but it's okay, but thank you, but. And now at the end, you again said, when things are so bad around in the world, and still we can come back to our or yeah to our center and yeah um so I thought about, I mean, I feel so I feel so bad and it's so difficult, and then I hear you offering this. I heard it so many times before, and then I said to myself now at the end while listening to you, I said, yes, so but you are doing it. You are doing it. I said to myself, well, yes, it's painful. It's extremely painful. There are days when like today, I cry. I just cry. I mean, tears. I don't sit and cry. I spent time with my family. We went to the forest. It was so beautiful. I looked at the tree and I said, what a magic. It's dry now. It's the end of the summer and the trees are not green exactly, and everything is kind of brown and dry, but still it's beautiful. It's nature. While at the background, I can hear what I can hear. You already know what I hear from here. So then, I had the question 5 minutes ago, but tell me, how can I do it in this situation as we have now in Israel or around Israel? And now I just said to myself, but you are doing it. It doesn't mean that you have to be happy all the time and smile, and it's okay to be unhappy. It's okay to feel the pain, to cry, but somehow maybe only not to feel that it's the end of the world. Maybe I offer it to myself, and I ask you, what do you think about it?
yes, of course. If you see something, there may be sadness coming up in a rush and you cry. Nothing wrong with that. When I'm talking like this, then I'm not saying that we should become hard and emotionless and feelingless and indifferent. You can very well perceive what's going on, and sometimes the reaction may simply be there that it makes you cry. But don't cry in self-pity. Don't feel sorry for yourself that you have to experience this. You just see circumstances that are tragic, that are making people suffer, and it makes you cry. But not, poor little me, why is this happening to me? That I have to that I have to live in a world like this, in a time like this, that I have to confront circumstances full of suffering. If I'm crying with self-pity, then of course that's again a spiral that pulls us into more trouble. But if you just cry and you are aware that you're crying and you let that emotion express itself, there is absolutely no harm in it.
Yeah, and of course, not to expect from myself to, um, you know, because it's a mistake. It's a mistake to listen to you and to say to myself, you can be so-called enlightened. I don't mean that, but enlightened, but really like happy all the time. And nowadays I'm unhappy all the time, really. I'm sad and full of pain most of the time.
Mm.
And yet I laugh. And as I described before, people describe, many of my friends describe us as they live in two parallel worlds
Mm.
now, because we have to function. And when we want to function, we don't just want to lie in the bed and again, feel sorry for ourselves. But all the time there is like, um, I go like that. There is like this knowledge, this knowing
Mm.
that there is something terrible going on.
Mm.
And that we suffer, all of us. I mean, I don't suffer. There are many people that suffer much more than me. Thanks God, of course. Oh, not thanks God, but yeah, we do suffer much more than me. I'm safe for now, hopefully. But I've never experienced in my life for such a long time
Mm.
such a tragedy, which is going and getting worse and worse. And yet, so it's more the description, as I said, living like in two parallel worlds, really, two parallel heads or something, worlds, I would say. Many people describe it that way.
Yes, it may look like this in the mind, but one is that that which is not affected by no matter what, that which is true.
Mm.
The other one is that appearance that is not as real as it appears, that is momentary, it changes all the time. And we can be aware that this aspect that is not affected is always there. We can be rooted in that and then deal with that other aspect. As it comes, we deal with it. As it goes, we let it go. And that identification then with that not so real part, then that becomes very, very difficult. Then it's
No, so
in
what? Not so what? What did you
not
say?
so real aspect, not so real
Ah,
part, that that identification with that becomes so difficult and becomes bigger and bigger, and then people really suffer. And if we are not identifying with that, but just are aware this story is unrolling itself, but there is that aspect that is not moving, that is not affected by it, then one is not really suffering in spite of difficult circumstances. Because no matter what is happening, nothing can really hurt you what you really are. Superficially, the story may be finished, we may be destroyed, but it's like in a dream you can be destroyed, and then you wake up and you become aware, it hasn't affected you. And this manifestation is not exactly the same, but is also a dreamlike construction. And people suffer because of the identification so heavily, so big suffering is there. But it's always the possibility to become aware, hey, this is not as real as it appears. There is that which is prior to that, that which is during that story, that which is still there when that story is gone and is not affected by what is happening. Aware of it, learning from it, but not affected, not getting pulled out of that basic, natural, peaceful, joyousness. And sometimes crying is good. But then, as I said, don't cry with self-pity. I remember
No,
when...
crying is great. Crying is great. It feels, yeah. I stopped you in the middle.
Yeah, I remember when I was a young boy, my room where I slept was, I had to go up a stair, and sometimes when things were just too bad, I couldn't stand it, I would run up and lie in my bed and cry. And I remember that after a little moment, I understood, hey, I'm not unhappy anymore. I'm feeling totally fine. But then in my little mind, I was not ready to stop crying. So, but I have the right to cry, so kept on crying. But at the same time, I was aware it's a fake, because
Yeah, yeah.
after a minute, I was already aware. Hey, I'm not really, I'm not really hurting anymore. I'm hurting when I was full in the story, something that I don't like, what they do, what they command me. And then lying there crying, become aware, hey, uh, why are you
Yeah.
crying? I'm totally fine.
Yeah, I saw it on my granddaughter, exactly what you described. But still, Werner, I want to say that our nervous system, I dare saying our, in Israel, many people, our nervous system is on its the level of tension
Mm,
is constantly
right.
constantly on a high mode. So I think about what you say all the time. I mean, I remind myself, and
Mm,
I think I have it. I think it's there.
yes.
It's there. Yeah, after all these years, I know it's there.
Mm,
But also, I feel so fragile emotionally,
mm,
and it takes energy to even to do what you're offering. It's not that this take energy, but being with a nerve, living with a state of what I describe about the nervous system constantly for so long, it takes energy.
right. It's
And,
that which
and
is
it's,
taking energy, that tension and that hypertension of the nervous system. It's that which is eating the energy. And then, of course, I'm not saying it's easy, but
yeah,
it's still worth the trouble then to make the effort. And when we are tired and when we are full of tension, then it's more difficult to decide to even try to make the effort. And what I'm trying is to make clear that it's still worth the trouble, because no matter whether you are very successful with it or not, just already making the effort is changing the situation.
yeah, yeah.
And that is not what is taking the energy away. The energy is going away by being in that tension. And then, of course, it's not simply our personal tension, but it's there in the atmosphere, about the happenings, about what's going on. On top of that, we are being radiated with such a hell of a radiation that makes it even more difficult. Right now, it's increasing. It's increasing. What the body lives in a sea of radiation that creates tension, that makes also the nervous system more hyper, and then makes it more difficult. But at the same time, it's also a great opportunity. If in spite of all that, we make the attempt not to be a victim of the situation, but turn the attention back to that which is not affected by it, there is great benefit in it.
Yeah, thank you. This is great, and I'm aware of that, and it's happening. And thank you very much. It's great to hear what you just said now at the end. I really identify.
I wish you well.
Yeah, thank you. Hari Om.
Hario, Hario. What I just said to Leela, it's good to remind ourselves when we forget it. When everything seems to be hopeless, when everything is getting more and more difficult, when we look what's going on and it has the tendency to pull the attention into a hopelessness, remind ourselves it's also a great opportunity. If in such a situation still we are capable of connecting consciously, if even if we are capable of attempting to consciously connect in such a situation, there is a tremendous benefit in it. When everything externally is beautiful and harmonious, it's easier. But being capable of doing so in a difficult situation brings also that much more the benefit with it. People who are now in the world had quite a good idea what's going to be like before they came. Now, after that, we forget. And we have come because we wanted to take the challenge. And it's good to remind ourselves. In the midst of the action, in the midst of everything, it's easy to forget. And when we forget, it's easy to become a victim. And when we become a victim and identify with that role, it's unbearable. But if we can remind ourselves, hey, I came here for the challenge. I came here to learn to grow. And this is a great opportunity also. Although it's not pleasant, but it's there as a great possibility. And if we eventually manage to really get rooted, in spite of that, there is really that consciousness, the experience expanding enormously. This world was always like this. It was always a school. It was always a possibility to, within short time, learn a lot, grow, outgrow. And yet, right now, it's so intense. I mean, if you look on its own level, it's absolutely totally unbelievable what's going on. So in so many different layers, so many different things that are all fitting together, what's going on is so totally unnatural that one can get pulled into despair and think it's absolutely hopeless. But it's not. In the midst of all that, there is always the possibility to connect with that which is true, which is prior to that. And doing so, even attempting so, in a soup like this, then that brings a lot of benefit. Anyhow, I stop now with that. Is there anybody else who would like to come in and say something? You're welcome.
Hello,
Hello,
Werner.
Werner. It's all right. I'll get out.
Okay. Nelly, you say? You talk?
Thank you, Werner. Hello.
Hello, Nelly.
Yeah, thank you for everything that you said before. It's very useful for me. And I want to share you one situation that that is connected with this. My friend told me today that her brother was taken to the war, and he was taken forcibly. He didn't want to go, and now he had to kill people, and he doesn't want to kill people and to kill Russian people. He's Russian also, but it happened like this, and now he's in his despair, yeah, despair, and doesn't want how to live through this.
Yeah.
So, what can you say about it?
Yes. Is he still actively in the army, or is he has he come back home?
He lives in Ukraine, and he was taken in the war.
Yeah.
Yes, so he is in Ukraine now.
Still actively there. Yeah.
Yes.
And you're asking me what I can say about it generally, or you mean what one could say to this man or your friend who is sad about her brother? I'm not quite sure what you are asking about.
I just think for myself. I to support her when I heard about that, and I just thought, what should I could do if I was in this situation? So, and everything that you say about this, to be rooted, to be in this connection with this inner aspect is very useful and necessary to go through this, because if I was on his place, I could only try to trust God and his guidance, because I don't know what to do in this. I don't want to kill anyone. Yes, and so I don't know. This is not easy situation. How to what to do in this? What is just to be to feel connection.
Yeah.
And
good.
go. I don't know what else is possible.
Of course, somebody who is being pulled into such a thing and doesn't have a very conscious life, you cannot go to them and tell them connect with that which is prior, that they will not understand. But if you have that awareness and this situation come, then you can also always say no. I don't. It won't be a very pleasant thing either, because they will punish you. But you can also say, no, I'm not joining this. I'm not going to go along with it. If one feels that's what one has to do, they can go and do so. If that is their idea, that is the right thing to do. I mean, if you have that consciousness, you can learn to be detached from whatever you are doing. You can learn to be connected no matter what you are doing. But you have also more the courage, if you are connected, to say no. If you are being told that you should do things that you know perfectly well, I don't want to do that. And then that will give consequences. They may put you in jail and harm you in that way. But then at least you are at peace with yourself that you are doing that which you feel is right. And that will make it easier to relax and connect with that aspect of you that is not affected by it.
Thank you, Werner.
I mean, how people don't want war. Neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians, neither the Israelis nor the Palestinians, nor all the people that are involved there. These are all people who just would like to go ahead with their life in a peaceful way. And somehow the circumstances are pulling them into it, and then they are getting brainwashed and getting all these destructive emotions, being also on a subtle way, more that technique is there that one can influence people, make them angry, make them into bloodthirsty soldiers on a subtle way, just with the radiations. It's not natural. People don't want that. It's some people who benefit from that, who arrange all these stories. And the more, if there were more people conscious of themselves, there would be more people who simply say, no, I'm not doing that. And if the crowd doesn't go along with it, they can't do anything.
Yes. Yes.
But we are not right there, unfortunately. Most of the people go along. And then if you suddenly confront such a situation that you're being pulled into something that you don't want, there you can in two ways function. Okay, I'm going along, I'm remaining centered and true to myself as good as I can in those circumstances, or you can simply refuse to play along.
So what to play?
To play along. You can refuse to play along, not to go for it, not to play their game, but to live according to what you feel is right.
Okay. Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome. Hario.
Hario.
Hario. Okay, Ravi, you wanted to come in?
I did. Thank you, Werner.
Hello, Ravi.
Hello. Be one moment. So, Werner, I was just wondering if you could. I love reading books about saints, and two of my favorite books are Autobiography of a Yogi and Living with the Himalayan Masters. Can you recommend any other books that have that kind of devotional quality? And yeah, and the other book I have, which I haven't completely got into from page to page, is by Irene Tweedy, Chasm
Yeah.
of Fire. Yeah.
Yeah. You wrote that? You read that?
Not from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. But well, I'm not an advisor for books. If you see a book, you feel attracted. If you feel when you start reading it, it helps you to connect, then that's the right book for you at that moment to read. Actually, a book very much in the line of what you have said is one of the first books I have read from my first teachers. There were two teachers. There was a man and a woman, and the woman is called Elizabeth Heitch, and she wrote her story in a book called Initiation. At that time, it was very, very inspiring for me. Now I'm not more taking everything that she wrote without a grain of salt, but still, basically, it's an inspiring story and easy to read. It's you can read it like a novel.
How do I spell her surname?
Elizabeth. That
Yep.
is easy. And then the second name is Haich. Haich.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm
Thank
sure
you, Werner.
if you look online, you may find something about it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Werner.
You're welcome. But don't come back to the satsang and ask me for advice what books
Ask
to
you what?
read. Don't come back to the satsang asking my advice what books to read. No.
Don't come back.
In the satsang. Don't come back to the satsang hoping
Yeah.
that I'm giving you advice what kind of books to read. That's not
Right.
what I'm here for.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow,
Yeah.
it's
But
great fun.
I do.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is beautiful reading books because they're so inspiring in some
Mm.
ways.
Yeah.
They're connecting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome.
Hurry on.
Hariom. Hariom.
Cheers. Hurry on.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Let's come back to what Nelly has been asking. We are looking out now what's going on in the world, and we see all these horrors going on. We're seeing all these people being pulled into it. And of course, people have been brainwashed, have been prepared by the media, by the information, that they are easier convinced that's the right thing to do these kind of inhuman things. Nobody naturally wants to do so. Basically, people like to be at peace. Basically, people just would like to continue peacefully their life and are manipulated into this kind of destructive actions. It's everywhere, people. We may have a little different appearance from one place to another, but what's going on in the human mind is the same east, west, north, south. Naturally, people would just like to peacefully go about their life. And if we are conscious, we can do so. And if the circumstances push us into things that we don't want, then we can accept, okay, I'm being pushed into things, I'm going along, but still remain centered and remain like a source of light within the darkness of what is happening around. But It's also totally possible to simply say, no, I'm not going to let myself be pushed into such a thing. People could do so, but then they are afraid of the consequences. Consequences immediately, what the state may do with them. Consequences, what are the other people thinking about me if I'm not going along in the usual current? It needs courage. But it's much better to be at ease with oneself, at peace with oneself, to make decisions that even if the surroundings, they don't like it, but I feel it's the right thing to do, then I'm helping myself. And then even if negative feedback is coming from all around, one is much better off if one lives according to one's own convictions, what is right. Then we are at peace with ourselves. And that is much more important than whether the society accepts what we decide, how we are living, whether they think it's great or whether they think it's totally wrong. And if we live according to that, the way we feel it's right, then it's much easier to be at ease. It's much easier to let go. It's much easier to consciously connect with that which is always at peace. As long as we are pushing ourselves into something simply to avoid troubles from the surroundings, then we are not at ease with ourselves, and it's nearly impossible to connect with that which is not affected. As I said, one can go along. I think that's the right thing to do, and go along and remain centered and remain like a source of light, a source of strength, a source of hope and encouragement amongst the people who are involved there. But what is important is that we follow that which we feel is right. It's not always easy, especially right now. It's not an easy time, but I said it's good to remember. It's a challenge. We came into this story to learn, to grow. And the circumstances are in such a way intense that they give us a great possibility to learn and grow, not to despair by seeing what's going on, not to despair if we are being pulled into things that we are not wanting. Increasing that capacity, that awareness, that no matter what is happening, we can always connect. That there is something that is not affected. Then one is like waking up in a dream and the dream continues in spite of that. Then the dream becomes a lucid dream. And if the dream that was a nightmare becomes a lucid dream, it stops being a nightmare because there is always the awareness. It's just a dream. It's momentary, but I'm not being affected. And this life, waking, lifelong, drawn out dream story is quite similar. We can become lucid in it, wake up from being so totally identified with it and be aware that which matters, that which was prior to the story, is still there and will be there when the story is over, no matter what is happening, that cannot be affected. And if we get rooted in that, then this story becomes more and more like a lucid dream. Yeah. The dream goes on. We don't take it so serious because we are aware it's momentary. People do things happen to them, they laugh, they are in pain, they suffer. It's momentary, it comes and goes, but that which is timeless and is not being hurt by it. Being able to connect with that in difficult circumstances, being able sometimes to say no when everybody else wants to pull us into something, being capable of being connected in spite of these external challenges brings a lot of benefit. Essentially, we remain the same, and yet that being remaining essentially that divine essence, that divine substance. Still, the experience of that keeps on unfolding, and that being still decided to project into a time space like this and go through this story for the sake of experience, for the sake of having the possibility to learn. We don't have to create difficulties unnecessarily to make it more difficult, make it more a challenge. We can very well set our story up as peaceful as it's somehow possible in the circumstances. But we can learn to accept the circumstances are there as they are. They are a challenge. They give me the opportunity to become that much the stronger, to make that much more use of this time, of this dream time, this dream world, creating experiences momentarily. They come, they go, the story is over, you're still there. Is there anybody who would like to go? Hello, Andreas.
Hello. How do you deal with people when they have very different opinions from your own? Or like sometimes I feel like despair when I watch something in TV, in the news, and see people that are really full of hate and stating things that are completely against all my beliefs.
Mm. Well, you see them. You see them. You accept there are people who think like this. You don't get affected by them. It's also that I'm taking my ideas too important, me, myself as a person, and my opinions too important that I cannot accept that somebody may have the total opposite view. So then the feeling is that I should go, should shake them, I should tell them, I should make them clear. And sometimes it's fine. If you are with somebody and you see there is a possibility that they maybe open up to what you have to say, then you can shake them if necessary. You can tell them, but otherwise, if you see like abstractly like that, the TV people coming so from a hateful and totally different perspective than you come, then you need not start to like it, but you can accept, okay, right now, this is manifesting. they are also, in a way, victims of all the influences that pull them in that direction.
But what if you know the other person personally, and sometimes it's a nice person, and then you start to talk about politics, and then it's getting very difficult.
Yeah.
And there's like in psychology, it's called cognitive difference.
Yes.
That you have like these two things, like you like them, but on the other hand, you think this is completely I can yeah. What do you do?
Then better don't go into political discussions with that person and connect with the constructive aspects that can come up when you are together. And if he provokes you in a discussion in spite of that, then you can say your ID, or you can say, I'm not feeling like getting into this fruitless struggle between us. But you can also say your part and not worry too much whether they accept it, and you need not accept what they are saying. So what?
Usually people don't change their attitudes
Yes,
easily.
not so easily. Yes. Most of the time, when you are with people, one can also then direct consciously the discussion, the communication on a level, in a ground where a communication, where an exchange is possible. But that you already subtly, when the signs are there that we are going now again down that road, and it ends up in the two opinions that clash with each other, that you somehow try to turn the conversation in a different directions before it's happening there. But if it's there, then so what? Then you never, you can keep quiet, or you never mind about the differences. Okay, he feels like this, he thinks like this, so what?
Sometimes I feel like despair when I see like, I mean, this might be a difficult example, but if I see like people in the West Bank, the Israeli settlers, like being very aggressive towards the Palestinians, then yeah, this makes me sad.
Right, of course, it's not nice to see. It's absolutely inhuman what is going on there. These poor people, they are completely under an influence of a very destructive dark force. It's unbelievable what humans are capable of doing. In spite of that, you don't have to be pulled. I mean, sadness is nothing wrong. You can be sad. But as I previously said to Leela, don't get into sadness with self-pity, feeling terrible sorry about yourself that you have to experience that. Then you can see what is making you sad. You can be sad about it, but at the same time, you can consciously experience that sadness. And then it's not hurting you, it's not pulling you in a dark place. In contrary, it can become very expansive.
Just to feel the emotion.
Just to feel the emotion, not resist the emotion. You saw something, it brought about sadness, and then you shift your attention to your experience of sadness and see how it is manifesting, and you don't resist the sadness. And if you are not resisting sadness, if you are not fighting with it, or if you are not letting sadness pull us into self-pity, then sadness can become a very expansive, beautiful experience.
Okay. another difficult thing is for me is that like in a certain state of Germany, the right-wing party AfD is almost now getting 40% of the votes, and yeah, this makes some kind of, it's not so, I mean, it's not so terrible like what's happening in the rest of the world, but it's still kind of, yeah, it's more like not really despair. It's a little bit like wondering how can this happen? You know, how can, yeah.
Right. Anyhow, you are not an active politician. If you want, you can jump into a political career, try to do something about it, but you are most likely not going to do so. So what you can is not spend your time worrying now because of what is happening. You can see what you don't like, you can see what you feel is wrong, but at the same time remain rooted in yourself and say, okay, this is an additional aspect of difficulty that is there right now in this experience, makes the challenge even a bit greater, but I still can, in the midst of that, put my attention back where it belongs, back home to myself, and be rooted in that. And when you are rooted in that, then you still will see when things are happening that are not nice, but you won't get pushed out of your balance because of it.
It's not putting me into disbalance a lot, but it makes a subtle feeling of things are, everything's going downwards. You know, this it's more subtle, and it's more, it makes it more difficult to get out of it.
Yes. And if you look what's going on, you can look wherever you want. It looks like it's just going down the drain. It's going down and down and down, worse and worse. But at the same time, the opposite force is also there. Simply you don't see it so easily. Like you see now all the negative manifestation, but there is a creative, beautiful, powerful energy there that is getting stronger and stronger. And eventually, all this negativity, all this destruction, all these crazy things that are happening, they have to disappear and something else can manifest. And you can, as an individual, connect with that current, even if from the first immediate appearance it looks like it's a hopeless story. It's just going to from bad to worse into more destruction until all is finished. But the other is also there. It's not so obvious. And if you connect with that energy, then from that, it's much easier to connect with yourself, with that which is not affected by it.
How do you connect with that energy, like center and relax?
By being not pulled into negativity, by looking at yourself and see that at the base is something very joyous, no matter what is happening. There's there something like it's still there in little babies, that innocent, joyous curiosity that is there in everybody still. If you learn to connect with that again, more consciously, then you are connecting with that positive energy.
And sometimes I think, oh, my own life is very easy and very safe. Is that helpful too?
Well, if that helps you to relax, why not? Can tell yourself like this.
I mean, compared to the misery all around in the world.
Right. And then you can make the best out of it. Be that much more consciously connected.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Om.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om. This is a magic show. It's not as real as it appears. When we are in the midst of it, when we are in full action, what's going on, and when we identify with that personality that we think we are, then it appears to be totally real. It's a magic show. Temporarily, we project into it for exactly that, to gain experience, to learn, to grow, to outgrow this level. The essence is not being affected by it. But our life is, of course, totally different, whether we are detached, whether we connect with that which is not affected, or whether we are completely identified with that role that we are playing. Even if we are identified, it's not for nothing. Nobody goes through all this for nothing. Nobody suffers in vain. Subtly, something very precious is accumulated. But as long as we are totally emotionally attached, it's a painful business. And the process is very slow. If we learn to be detached, if we learn to connect with the essence and still let that dream story go on, go through all the emotions, knowing it's not as real as it appears, but playing as if it was real, then we are getting out of it such a great benefit. We can go through it in a playful, joyous way, not in a painful way, suffering from day to day. Both is possible. But no matter how we are going through it, eventually, latest, when we get out of it, we become aware, oh, what a nightmare. It was just a dream-like story. It's a magic show. We don't need to take it so serious even right now, even if it is terrible what we are seeing. There is in everybody that aspect that is not affected. It cannot be destroyed, even if some forces try to do so now, making all attempts, it cannot be destroyed. Hold on to that. Remind ourselves we are here for that learning. It's a challenge. If we don't resist, we can go about it playfully in the midst of difficult circumstances. But you are, prior to this story, during this story, after this story. And that divine essence cannot be hurt. I wish you all well. Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.